Where were the residencies? Other than Lucknow, where the residencies, there are other places also. What was the function? Like that. So, in the initial part, we would like to brief you something about the function, purpose of residency, a brief history of Awadh and Lucknow. Because sometimes I get a feeling that whenever we discuss, we conduct a walk, we talk to people about Lucknow, most of the time we are not able to relate it with the rest of Awadh or with the rest of India. And the history of Lucknow is not complete unless we put it in the wider perspective, broader frame of Awadh and India. So, very briefly, something about that too. And after that, the whole game, the whole image of Residency is about the siege, a siege which lasted for months and months together. So, something about the siege, the relief, which all must have read in high school, and even before that, first relief, second relief, third relief, things like that, how Regency was relieved, Havelock, Campbell, and the battles. And the third part, the more important, will be when you physically confront the Residency, when you go there, when you look into various buildings, most of them are ruins, are graves, cemeteries. What they were when they were functioning, what was their role, what was their nature, who were the persons living there. So, because in a virtual walk, I can share the old paintings, pictures. So, that's why I'm not able to share. When we do a physical walk, normally with the help of word only, we are transporting you back to 19th century. But here, I'll be ably assisting some pictures of Lucknow. My
Uh,
side, maybe
I think, sir, there's some
connection
network
got
issue.
disconnected.
Yeah.
And it's all right. It's all right. We have to live with a lot of things. So now I'm audible and visible.
Yes, sir, you're audible and visible.
Yes, yes.
And presentation also is available.
No,
Okay.
the screen is not
No,
shared yet.
no.
The screen is not getting shared. Okay. Let me do it again. So now I think it should be getting shared.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what I was discussing was that how we are going to start.
Sir,
And
you can
now we
start
will
the
start.
presentation. It's showing the full
Yeah.
PPT screen. Okay, okay.
Yeah. I'm going to put it there. So we are going to look into it. What was the function of residency? What was the role? And you can see a picture here. The picture is of Hyderabad residency. Hyderabad, along with Awadh, was one of the earlier residencies. So the residencies were basically political offices which British the East India Company established at number of places with which they had a subsidiary alliance. So in 1773 and 1775, were entered into a treaty with Shujauddaulah and later with Asafuddaula. At Faizabad itself, the concept of residency started. The resident was more like a diplomat. He was doing a liaison, but also looking into trade and the interest of Europeans. And he was also means of communication with Governor General, our governor. So the protocol wise, the Nawabs will not directly communicate with the Governor General or even with the resident. It is the Diwan or Wazir who will of Nawab who will write a letter to resident, and resident on behalf of Nawab will write to Governor General. Even the Vaid Ali Shah annexation, the outram came and gave a letter on behalf of Governor General to Wahid Ali Shah. So that was the rule. And some of you will be surprised to know that residencies were all over. I'm showing you a very interesting painting. You can see an old ruler on the elephant. Try to identify him. He is nobody less than Bahadur Shah Jafar. He is assisted by resident and assistant resident of Delhi. So Delhi also had a residency from 1803. And this is a painting of a Julus of Eid al-Fitr. So in Eid al-Fitr Julus, resident and assistant resident are escorting Bahadur Shah Jafar in the procession. Hyderabad, Baroda, Delhi, they all had residencies, and even beyond the shores of India, the British India extended to Aden. So they had residency 1859 to 1873. After that, it became the part of province of Bombay. Until 1930s, Aden, which is a part of Yemen, was being controlled by Bombay Presidency, Governor Bombay. Bahrain, Muscat, Oman, Qatar, number of places British India had residencies. So residencies and residents were all over. Now let me tell you something about the Awadh also. Very briefly about the history of Awadh. The first time the Suba of Awadh, we can feature it at the time of Akbar. Now in this map, kindly look at Awadh. It is not a very big province, maybe smaller than Allahabad, smaller than Agra. The current UP was divided into 3 Subas, Agra, Awadh and Allahabad, Bihar, Bengal. But when Nawabs came into Lucknow and Sujaudola started expanding, in the next map, you can see how big Awadh has become. The Allahabad province had become part of Awadh. Its borders were touching Bihar. And 1765, you can see another big power emerging, Maratha. And then Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, after Battle of Buxar and before that Battle of Palasi, were the part of British. So in the emerging reality, Awadh was important, but Marathas and Britishers were also there. So when you are looking into Asafudollah, the time when the residents came, Awadh was there, Britishers were there, and Marathas were there. And so that's why they felt that Awadh will work as a buffer, and they were provided a sort of protection. But in 1801, at the time of Saadat Ali Khan, a further sort of partition, division, spoilage took place, and Awadh was reduced to what we now know as Awadh. There's area like Faizabad, Baiswara, Lucknow, Khairabad, that is Lakhimpur Kheri, Sitapur, Unnao. These were the only areas which were confined to Awadh in 1801, and it remains the border of Awadh till it was annexed by Britishers at the time of Wahid Ali Shah. So that is a very brief history, something about the Lucknow, Awadh, and concept of residency. A few residents, there are a number of them, but the early ones were Middleton and Bristow. Middleton and Bristow, they kept on getting changed very frequently because Warren Hastings sometimes was not supported in his Governor General in Council affair. So when Warren Hastings was strong, Middleton came, and when Warren Hastings became weak, Bristow came. Sherry, I am mentioning because he was one of the ex-resident who was killed by an ex-Nawab. A very interesting question for trivia. Wazir Ali, when exiled from here to Varanasi and revolted at Varanasi, Sherry was posted there, and Sherry was killed. Collins, a good number of you must be knowing Aminabad, Golaganj. There is a mohalla called Kallan Ki Lat. The Kallan Kilat owes its origin to Colonel Collins. He was the only resident who died here and was buried in a Christian cemetery at that area, and then Colonel Collins became Kallan, and there was an obelisk, it became a lot. John Bailey, whose picture I'm sharing, Bailey Guards Gate, you must have all seen. John Low was important because after Nasruddin Haider died, there was nobody to succeed. Then Munna Jan was put on the throne, but he intervened and got the whole dynasty changed and put another Nawab, an old man who was woken up at 3 o'clock in the night and posted as a Nawab. Sliman, we all know, the man who eliminated Pindaris, but was instrumental in writing a report which went to the, ultimately led to the annexation of Awadh. And Outram was the last resident and the first chief commissioner. Nawabs, we are all familiar. Asfudullah was the first one, had a good relationship with Britishers because Warren Hastings was very on a good terms with him. But with resident, sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. Saadat Ali Khan had to enter a treaty, was forced to enter into a treaty at the time of Wellesley, and half of Awadh he had to give as a part of an alliance. Succeeded by Ghaziuddin Haider, we always remember him when we look at the Saadat Ali Khan's tomb and Shahnaz Maqbara. Nasruddin Haider when we pass through Lucknow University. And very important because after his death, there was nobody. So John Low got Muhammad Ali Shah installed. Muhammad Ali Shah was actually son of Saadat Ali Khan, uncle of Nasruddin Haider, brother of Ghaziuddin Haider, who suddenly became a Nawab. His son Hamzat Ali Shah, who is in Siftanabad Imambara, associated with Hazrat Ganj, father of Waid Ali Shah, took over from him, and then we all know about Waid Ali Shah. So with this brief introduction, we can come to the Regency. So just take a minute's time, have a look at the map, a very detailed map. You can locate it with the help of Gomti. The construction was done by Asfudullah and Saadat Ali Khan. And all of it was not done in one go. Started with the resident house and then other houses. The most important part, it was a high-level land. There was access to a wide road and river, and later on, the iron bridge also was constructed very close to it. So in this map, which is a cropped map, you can look into it that how closely it was located to river. There was an effort twice to shift the Regency. Because you can see on this map, it is very close to Koti Farhat Bakhsh and Chhatar Manzil Palace complex. So therefore, Nasruddin Haider wanted that the Regency should move away, and this area they should convert into palace. So first he offered Charbagh. They refused, saying Charbagh is not very healthy, and ultimately then they were offered Dilkusha. Nothing materialized, and Regency remained there. So now we move to the siege of Regency. 1856 February, Waid Ali Shah Awadh annexed. 1857 simmerings started. 18th April is a very important date when Lawrence and Sir Henry Lawrence, Chief Commissioner, was moving in Husainganj area. A cloud of earth was thrown at him. And he realized that there is a simmering anger. And they started preparing for the siege. On 3rd May itself, the revolt probably would have taken place, but later was discovered, and a lot of potential rebels, they were all hanged at the place of Machi Bhavan, what is now the KGMC's administrative block in the Chowk area. Then Lawrence declared that all the women and children, Britishers, they should come inside the Regency by 25th May. And probably his apprehension was all right. On 30th May, Mariam and Musa Bagh, the fire of revolt struck and the Maniao cantonment was burned. June, the entire Awadh was in Gonda, Gorakhpur, Azamgarh, Jaunpur, Faizabad. They were all revolting. In the Kanpur, Wheeler was put into siege, and then there was a massacre. We all are aware about that. So La Martiniere was also vacated. The students were called, and a preparation for siege was practically being done. On 30th June, one of the most important battle of 1857 was fought at Chenhai, probably the only frontal battle where Britishers lost and lost heavily. After this loss of Chenhut, they were all confined to the residency and siege started from the 1st July. So July was the time when we saw the change. Sir Henry Lawrence, who was the chief commissioner, was hit in his house, the house of resident, and he was taken to Dr. Frere's house where he died on 4th July. Burgess Qadar, the son of Begum Hazrat Mahal, was anointed as the new Nawab on 5th July. So battle kept on happening. The batteries, mine was being done, but more or less the match was almost draw. Because we are running short of time, I will just give you some example, like Redon Battery. The map I had shown, there you can see on the upper part where the Captain Bazar was there, very close to it was located Redon Battery. That the picture is of Redon Battery's fight, and P.C. Mukherjee's famous book Pictorial Lucknow gives a very detailed description of fight of Redon Battery. It was protected by two 18-pounder and one 9-pounder. It was covering not only the Captain Bazar. Captain Bazar was located slightly towards Chowk from Farhad Baksh. The low-lying area, Residency has an advantage of high-lying area. And in the early part, Mr. Omne, who was a judicial commissioner, was killed by the cannon shot. Multiple mining attempts were made to attack the Redon Battery, failed. So the entire area they were trying to defend, but they were feeling 15-20 days max, ultimately they will have to surrender. So there was a demand for relief. Havelock attempted, could not come, but ultimately in September he came. And in this map you can see that from Alambagh to Charbagh there is a line. That is how Havelock came, and this is the area where the residency is this and where the attempt was made. So September, you can see this picture of Havelock statue is at Trafalgar Square, right in the center of London. So how he was admired, respected. On 23rd September, in the Battle of Alambagh, the Indians lost. There was a very fierce battle at Charbagh, almost totally forgotten battle of Charbagh. We have made a video also of that. On 25th September, Britishers suffered heavy losses. Ultimately, the Residency was relieved. This is a very famous engraving being shown that how Residency is relieved, how Havelock and his forces have arrived at the Residency with a jubilant welcome. Now, this is a very interesting map. You can see first time Ganj, the red part, but the Havelock and his armies, they could not relieve the people. Farhad, Hazrat Ganj, Khurshid Manjil, Moti Mahal, they are all with the Indian freedom fighters. But this is the colored map was with the Britishers. Second relief came with the Campbell, who decided to come by Dilkusha, Martiniere. On 16 November, fierce battle took place at Secunderabad and Shah Nazaf. We paid our tribute this year. And then on 17th November, a very famous painting, uh, you can see here the meeting of general where Havelock, Outram, and Colin Campbell are meeting. On 17th, the Residency was relieved, and by 19th, all the Britishers were taken away from there to Dilkusha, where Havelock died, but everybody else was taken to Kanpur. Now we'll move to the last part of our discussion. When you move to the building, this is the map, and this is the place you start. That's a Bailey Garden. So let's start with the Bailey Guard. John Bailey was the resident, and guards were there, started at his time. So that's why the gate became Bailey Guard. But interestingly, he was an earlier professor of Arabic, and he has done a lot of contribution in the Arabic grammar. Uh, he served in the military. For protection of this gate, a lot of earth was used. Mines were used by Indians, but they were spoiled by rain, and two 9-pounder and 124-pounder howitzer were protecting it. Residency, the biggest question is where the resident used to live. This is the building. The museum, you must have seen this painting. It is a volume 3 of Indian Empire by R.A. Martin. Here you can see there is a white, lofty, colonnade veranda on the west side. East side is the main gate with a portico. But after the fight started, it became difficult to defend. On the south side, a semaphore was installed. 3 guns were defending. The museum also shows about how the Miss Palmer was wounded. Sir Lawrence was wounded here, and he was shifted to Friar's House, where he perished. Another important building when you see is the banquet hall or hospital. The painting I am sharing with you is of Sitaram. So during siege, it was converted to hospital, and there's an African shooter. A lot of Negroes were fighting on behalf of Indians. On 8th July, a shooting took place. Dr. Frere's house, as soon as you enter from Bailey Garad gate, on one side is this banquet house, on the other side is Dr. Frere's house, where Sir Henry uh, and died. And that is a place where Sir Outram's headquarters was established. Begum Koti is another interesting building. It was a property of Mrs. Walters. Her daughter had married to Nasruddin Haider. They all converted. They become Shia Muslims. Her brother also got converted. But after death of Nasruddin Haider, Vilayati Begum came back to Begum Koti, was died here. Lofty gateway, mosque, and Imambara. Martiniere Post has a lot of interesting history behind it. How the Martiniere boys came to Residency, and they played a very important role in the defense of Residency. They were given a color, and you can see a marble plaque where it has been shown. The defense has been shown. There is a very interesting building there called Sago's house. Mrs. Sago was a school mistress. A small low-roomed house, but played a very important role in the defense. It was higher than the road, but fully exposed, and there were 18-pounder, 9-pounder, but with mine it was blasted. There are other buildings like Post Office, Gubbins Post, you all must have seen in the morning. Gubbins Post saw a battle where again arrows and bows were used. So this is very briefly about the building we have all seen and how it is remembered. The Britishers always recorded it as a very high place of honor. So when Prince of Wales came on the 7th January 1876 to Lucknow, he spent a lot of time in the Residency, honored all the defenders of Residency, and it became a major part. He went to Dilkusha, Secunderabad, other places also. This picture is also of that time. You can see the Bailey Guard here, and you can see a small bullock cart. I want to keep at least 5-minute time for question answers, so I have to rush through. Alfred Tennyson, who was a very important poet laureate, also wrote a poem on the defense of Residency, defense of Lucknow. Hold it for 15 days. We have held it for 87, and ever aloft on the palace of the old banner of England blue. So the whole game of residency, the whole thing, the way it interests me and intrigues me is how we remember it. Because in Lucknow, when we talk about 1857, we don't talk about Sikandar Bagh, we don't talk about Shah Nazar, we don't talk about Koti Alamara, Adil Kusha, where a lot of battle took place. The only place we remember is Residency. Britishers remembered it very warmly because they could hold Indians after a long time. Probably Indians also remember it because they confined Britishers to one very small area in the entire Awadh for a long time. But the question remains why Indians could not conquer it, why Britishers could defend it. Probably because Henry Lawrence has planned his defenses very well. Indians had not much of battle experience. They were short of armory, short of weapons. Maybe there were other factors, but the fact remains the siege lasted for a long time. But ultimately, on 19 November, the residency got vacated. So each and every area, you can look at the residency from the point of view nature, from the point of view history, building, and a lot of other things. So when we go to remember, don't remember, look only at runes. When you are remembering runes, look into story behind it, look into history behind it, and reminisce the memories. So we have only 5 minutes left. I'm leaving it to audience for any questions. Thank you.
So thank you, Shwasa sir, for this amazing presentation. And now we have we open the session. So you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself one by one and can ask the questions.
Please, because the discussion will make it much more lively.
Okay, sir. One question from my side. As I read about
Sure.
the Alambagh, the battle fought at Alambagh, and the Alambagh post was held by the Britishers, and the mutineers were unable to capture it. So, what and
Yeah.
was the role of the Alambagh post held by the Britishers, and why it became so important in the whole episode of this 1857?
Actually, maybe we'll have to cover Alambagh in one day separately. But the
Absolutely.
Alambagh was an area which the only place where Union Jack kept flagging high after the residency was vacated after 19 November. And Alambagh they could not capture because there is a special battle plan. They had a better weaponry, and the cannons were much more stronger. And Outram had around 4,000 forces, and they were all battle hardened. The forces which Campbell brought with him, they were 93rd Highlander. They had fought with him in Crimea, and they were going to fight in China. Against that, Indian forces had very little battle experience, especially the retainers of Talukadar. And Campbell had fought in different continents, Africa, Europe, Asia, number of continents he had fought. And he was a hero in a Crimean War where they fought against Russians. It's a full story. Alambagh itself is a
Thank you,
full
sir. Thank
story.
you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Any more questions?
सर हाईलैंडर का क्या रोल था?
Yeah, 93rd Highlanders, they were very strong Scottish units. And their experience in the second relief become very, very important. Yeah. So something about the residency, anybody would like to ask? Any specific aspect of residency? Okay.
Sir, also, why didn't the Britishers wanted to shift it? Was because the central location which the residency was located?
No, the first thing is very closely located to court. So a lot of persons who were unhappy with the court will always come to the resident. And that is why the Nawabs wanted it to be away from center of city. and they wanted it close to the site of city.
Okay, sir.
And
Okay,
the
sir.
location certainly was very good. Even now you can see the Regency is in a higher level and very close to river and very close to. That's why they preferred Dilkusha. But by the time Dilkusha they could shift, or they can think of, the whole plan got shelved.
Okay, sir. And also,
But
sir,
Dilkusha
there were
later on
few.
become the cantonment
Okay,
headquarters.
okay, sir. And there were few regiments which stayed like true to the Britishers, like the Sikh regiment. Uh,
Yeah, so you have got a Kapurthala state here in Lucknow, because Sikhs
yeah,
were part along with the Britishers. They helped them in capturing Delhi. A lot of Bengal army had not revolted. So the Purabiyas are the people from Awadh area, only they had revolted. So Sikhs were the part of British army, and they were fierce fighters. Sikhs and Gurkhas in the March battle, the king of Nepal came along with a very strong Gurkha army.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, thank you so much, sir, for your insights. And I hope this session helped the attendees also. And we have less than 1 minute. And so I just want to thank you for this detailed presentation on residency, and hope we'll be having further presentations from you where we'll
Sure.
be hosting sessions. So thank you, sir, and thanks to all the attendees who joined us. Thank you so much. And
Thanks so much for
good night.
giving me an opportunity. Okay.
It was our pleasure to listen to your deep knowledge about the residency. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.